welcome back to my channel. I apologize for not getting a gender reveal video posted for you. I'm still waiting for somebody to send it to me myself. Anyway, we are having a boy. I'm gonna have a little boy. I'm so excited. Andy's excited. He is obviously growing so much. I mean, look at this, guys. I got a belly. This is so weird. And he's also heavy. But this video is nothing to do with fitness. It has nothing to do with my pregnancy. This video is something that needs to be out there. And I'm sorry, Panic is kind of brushing up against my tripod right now, so it's a little shaky. And it's not that, Panic, come on baby. It's not that this video is something that's difficult for me to talk about. It's just weird talking about it. Alright, you know what, get down baby girl. We don't need you shaking this the whole time. If you know me personally, if you follow me on any kind of social media platform, whether it be my Instagram or my Facebook author page, my fitness Facebook page, really anything of the sort, you would have seen that I was just recently diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's something that has been in my family. Like, I've had, sadly, a lot of people in my family, including my mom, battle this. Thankfully, my mom is a 12-year survivor. I don't want anything to go wrong with my mother. Like, she is seriously my best friend and I could not live my life without her. But this is why I'm having this video. Before I jump into my whole story as to how I discovered I had breast cancer, I want to talk to you a little bit first about what is known as the BRCA mutation. So there are two different types of BRCA genes, and they're just BRCA. There's BRCA1 and BRCA2. My mom, myself, and my sister all have the BRCA1 mutation. So this just basically means we're more susceptible to breast or ovarian cancer because they are tied in together. Just because you have the gene doesn't necessarily mean you're going to develop cancer. And just because you don't have the mutation doesn't mean that you would never develop cancer. So it's really more of just kind of like a luck of the draw as to whether or not you actually do get breast or ovarian cancer. And I just happen to be the lucky winner. But because of my BRCA mutation and because my mom has had breast cancer in the past, I have been getting tested every year since I was 24 years old. I've been seeing my breast doctor, who I absolutely love. Anybody in Pittsburgh, anybody going through any of this, or a family who's going through this, highly, swear on my life, swear to God, recommend Dr. Natalie Ferguelli. She's amazing. She saved my mother's life. She's currently saving my life. I wouldn't trust anybody else with this. So I've been seeing her since I was 24 years old. Every year I've had an MRI, an ultrasound, and a mammogram. Never had any issues. Last year I did bring it up to her that Andy and I were trying to have a family. And I know you're very limited on what you are able to do testing wise. And you know, she said that if I'm pregnant, we would just skip the year of testing. Everything's been fine. You know, there's really no cause of alarm. She did say that pregnancy can sometimes trigger the BRCA mutation. But because I was so young, she wasn't really anticipating it. And then if there was any kind of issues, to go ahead and contact her. Alright, Payne. Now we got Payne playing with the tripod. So, kind of back it up a little bit. I am not saying by any means mammograms are bad. If you are able to, get a mammogram. Get them. Very important. Very important. With my mom, whenever she first found her lump, she did a self-exam. and she noticed it. She had just turned 40, so she had her first ever mammogram. I think it was a couple weeks or a couple months prior to finding this lump, and there wasn't anything that showed on the test. So she finds this lump. She contacted her doctor, which was way before we even knew Dr. Ferguelli, and knowing the lump was there, they did another mammogram. Nothing showed. I personally don't trust mammograms just for that reason, but I do know they are very important in detecting breast cancer or detecting lumps, even though they are benign. So still get those mammograms. Do daily checks. Do whatever you can. Ladies, it is so important that we take care of our bodies. And if there's anything wrong, do not hesitate to contact a doctor. So that's how my mom's journey started. And, you know, like 12 years later, you know, she's still a survivor, thankfully. My story is a little similar. So I didn't tell anybody this either, but back in February, Andy and I took a pregnancy test, and it showed what I thought was positive. My cats are chasing each other now, guys. I'm sorry for any kind of background noise we might have. But we took a positive test. 4 days later, we weren't entirely sure if it was my period, even though it was like 2 weeks late at the time, or if I miscarried and like everything was just like super, super small, super early on. You know, it was basically just like a cluster of cells still. It wasn't even a fetus at the time. So that we still were kind of like teetering on the edge whether or not we really were pregnant. And it was probably maybe 2 weeks after. So, okay, I woke up, and you know, like the first thing I always do in the morning is shower. And I'm in the bathroom. I do daily checks on myself. I am very anal about doing self-exams. And I noticed a lump. And it wasn't like just like, you know, like this little itty bitty thing. It was basically like from the inside of my boob to right, like almost more than halfway over. So it was a pretty decent sized lump. I am thankful Andy was home. So I had him check, and I'm like, you know, seriously, like, do you feel this? Like, I'm like losing my mind. I called my mom, and I told her what I found. This is all before I even took a shower. And, you know, I'm thinking like, oh my God, it's cancer, right? Because, you know, if you have a lump, that's the first thing you think of. And, you know, Andy and my mom both said it probably wasn't. It's probably just a cyst or muscle. And, you know, like, it's nothing to like worry about. So we're like, okay. Well, Andy and I went to the gym that day and we did a chest workout, and it really did truly pull like muscle. Like, I would move my arm and it pulled. I would do an exercise, I could feel it. Like, it did feel like I pulled a muscle or like I herniated a muscle, which is why back earlier in the year, I was kind of like resting a little bit because I didn't want to agitate this muscle. So weeks are going by and it started to shrink, like it is shrinking in size. So I'm to the point now where I'm just kind of like getting fed up, like I want to work out. So I called my PCP, and she originally told me that it just sounded like a cyst. We didn't do any kind of testing, no exams, nothing, just going by my age, knowing I stopped taking my birth control, which can cause cysts, and just everything else. You know, she was just like, oh, you know, like, it's shrinking. I know you want to work out, but give it some time to heal. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. That was in May. In June, whenever we were pregnant at the time, I had my first pregnancy appointment. Go to my doctor for that. Told her that I thought I had a cyst on my right breast. And, you know, nobody was concerned. You know, I said my PCP wasn't too concerned with it. She didn't do a self-exam on me. She didn't do any kind of exam, didn't send me for testing. Completely like brushed it off. So I'm like, okay, nobody's concerned about this, cool. So it was still shrinking a little bit, but then like it kind of plateaued, I'd say about mid-August, where it wasn't growing in size, but it wasn't getting any smaller either. So, I'm talking to Andy, and, it's like, I'm like so fed up. Like, I'm just going to call Dr. Ferguelli. I'll just have her look at it. Maybe it really isn't anything that we should be concerned with. So, September 28th, I go to my doctor appointment with Dr. Ferguelli. She's examining my breast, and she's the kind of person where she's honest with you, but she doesn't tell you if she's worried about something unless she truly is. So she, she's examining me, and that's whenever she told me she was worried. Knowing I'm pregnant, at the time I was 21 weeks pregnant, we scheduled an ultrasound on Tuesday, which was the next day, so September 29th. And on September 30th, I was going to go back to her office where she was going to do a biopsy. So I go to my ultrasound appointment, and, the girl that I had as my ultrasound tech, like, me and her, like, we've been friends for years. Like, she's always the one who gets to take me whenever I get any kind of ultrasound done, even for my normal testing. So, like, we're back there, we're talking, she said that the radiologist was going to look at the images, and she's told me that he would more than likely come in just because if there's, like, a lump, he wants to kind of, like, look and see for himself, whatever. Well, my ultrasound tech comes back in, and she tells me that he talked to Dr. Ferguelli, who was in OR at the time, and right there was a red flag. Like, okay, why are you pulling her into this right now? They did the biopsy there where I was in the hospital. Well, not in the I was at the hospital. So, they biopsied it, and he did say that the majority of everything that was there was cyst, but there were also these very vascular nodules that the cyst was hiding. So I'm like, okay, they're doing the biopsy at this time, and I'm like, all right, like, you talked to Dr. Ferguelli, you told me the only way to get rid of this is through surgery, it's cancer. Like, there's, whatever. Like, I know that's what she's going to tell me whenever I go to her office on Wednesday. So September 30th comes around, my mom and I are at my appointment, and, my doctor comes in, and she tells me that I have a very aggressive cancer, which she said it was probably my pregnancy that was making this cancer aggressive. It kind of goes back to the whole, like, hormones really play into everything. The pregnancy is more than likely what triggered this BRCA mutation. So here I am, 29 years old, now diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm not joking when I tell you I was more terrified of the surgery than I was about the cancer itself. A lot of that is because I had already gone through this with my mom. I already know what to expect. I've never had surgery before in my life. I've never had stitches, like, nothing. So I'm not joking whenever I tell you I was terrified. So we had my diagnosis on September 30th. October 1st was our gender reveal. October 2nd, I was in surgery for a full mastectomy. We got very lucky. Thankfully, like, knock on wood, the cancer did not spread to my lymph nodes. She took 10 lymph nodes out, sent them all to pathology. She checked just, like, tissue and stuff in general around everything, sent that to pathology. The margins were clear, my lymph nodes were clear. There was no indication from the surgery that this cancer has spread. We got very lucky because I've essentially had this since February and nobody was concerned. So for 7-8 months, I've been carrying it without even realizing that I had cancer. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm ready to, like, start doing things. My whole thing was, and thankfully, I have, like, an amazing team of doctors, because they are doing everything possible not only to help me get better, but they're doing it keeping our little baby safe. So I did have to go into surgery pregnant, which was actually a really ideal time. I guess if you're in the second trimester, it's, like, the best thing, like the best timing that you can ever have to get surgery. So on one hand, I look at that as a blessing. If I would have went to my doctor back in May, where we were, like originally pregnant, we were just learning that we were pregnant, first trimester, you know, you name it, I would have lost my child. Second trimester, perfect. Everything's fine. I did just have another ultrasound 3 days ago, and everything's normal, everything's fine. He's still growing like he should. Everything is how it should be. His heart rate is amazing. Like, my baby is healthy. He survived surgery. And now we get to move on to treatment. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure what they are able to do right now. I know I can't do radiation, but that is on the lineup of things after I go through chemo. And I know at the time I did talk to a high-risk pregnancy doctor who has kind of like dealt with patients who are pregnant and have cancer. At the time, we didn't know what kind of cancer it was. We didn't really know what we were dealing with until after the surgery, which we found out was a triple negative tumor. Basically, that just means that estrogen, progesterone, and HER hormones, I think was the third one. None of the hormones factor into this tumor. So my cancer compared to my mom's cancer are two different kinds of cancer, which means two different types of chemo drugs. At the time, before we knew what we were dealing with, I was told that there are two types of chemo drugs that I am able to have while pregnant. It's perfectly safe for our baby. It cannot pass through the placenta. I don't know if that's still the case. I actually don't have my first consult with an oncologist until Tuesday, so 2 days from now. But I know I'm going to find out more information that way. And I mean, that's kind of it. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting induced before 40 weeks. So right now I'm due February 11th. And he is kicking me like crazy right now. So I'm due February 11th. I may end up with a January baby. It kind of all depends on everything, but I do know if I am able to get any kind of chemo while pregnant, they would stop the treatments whenever I've reached 32 weeks. So just to give you a rough idea, I'm 24 weeks this week. So I would essentially have 8 weeks that I would be able, well, not even, because you have to wait 4 weeks after surgery before they would start chemo. So I'm looking at 25, 26 weeks if I'm able to have my first treatment. So that only gives them about like a 6 week window. So I'll get chemo, and then they would stop me at 32 weeks, give my body a little bit of time to kind of like recover and stuff before I were to go into labor. But I don't know if they would induce me or if they would let me carry like up to my 40 weeks. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to know any of that information until after I talk with the doctors. I'm now considered high-risk pregnancy because of the cancer. But like I said, I'm not worried about like the cancer itself, just because I've already gone through it. The surgery wasn't pretty. I'm not a fan of how I look. I'm not going to try to hide that or deny that. You know, it does feel really weird not being complete, per se. And the only reason Dr. Ferguelli did not take both of them at the same time was just because she did want to give me that chance to still breastfeed, which I completely appreciate that, even if I'm only able to do it a handful of times. So I can't thank her enough for still giving me that opportunity should we choose to do so, if we're able to do so. They are going to monitor my left side very closely. One, because of the pregnancy, and it does trigger the mutation, but also because I did have it in my right side. They just want to make sure, you know, like nothing did spread to the left side. So I have an ultrasound scheduled for 2 weeks? Oh no, for next week. Forgot we're like getting into the like October 20s now. So I have an ultrasound scheduled for that for next week. And basically we're just kind of like taking it one day at a time. Andy has been amazing. He's thankfully not squeamish, because I still honestly have not looked at the incision. Just something about having staples in me does not sit right, and I'm not okay with that. But they should all, I have my appointment with Dr. Ferguelli tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get the rest of the staples out. She did take the drain and half of them last week, so I'm hoping she just takes all of them this week. I don't care about scars. I can't even tell you how many scars I already have. I've had 3 on my chest my whole life, just from whenever I got scratched by a cat when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So scars don't bother me. I'm not worried about a scar. I'm worried about looking down and seeing staples, because they don't belong there. They go on paper. So thankfully, you know, like he's been really helpful. Like he's been helping me shower. He's, you know, could like help me with the exercises I have to do. And I'm not even joking when I say going like this, like being able to like lift my arm up over my head wasn't a challenge. Even though I worked out, which I know was a big part as to why I can lift my arm the whole way up right now, it was hard. Like I remember I had to start doing these exercises the day after my surgery, and I think I was only able to lift my arm to like here. And you know, it's just like, that's kind of like pathetic, you know? But it was normal because like your skin's so tight, you know, like you kind of have to like loosen it up again, loosen the muscles, and it's been a workout on its own. But from being able to go like this the first day after to completely like this, not even 2 weeks after surgery, you know, I'll take that. But my parents have been super helpful. I actually ended up staying at their house the week after my surgery, just because I was worried about the drain and my cats. You know, I didn't want them to think it was a toy that they could just play with, so we stayed on the safe side. I stayed at my parents' house for a week. They were super helpful. Like my mom, again, like she's been through it. My dad's been through this. They kind of know what to expect, so, you know, like having them there and having them help me with everything and just kind of like make sure I was doing my exercises, and you know, they would like cook for me and Andy. You know, it was pretty nice. My sister ended up getting me this cute little bunny because she said I needed a little cheerleader, and she does have a Penn State outfit on since that's my alma mater, and she's just adorable. Her name is Jezebel, but I call her Jezzy. I let my sister name her, so she's been like my best friend this whole time. And, you know, just like everybody, like we've had some of our friends and family, you know, like make us food so it's less we would have to worry about. I can't tell you how many flowers I received whenever I was still recovering, which was like so sweet. Like I love flowers, they're so pretty. And just everything in general, like the support I have, and just hearing from people who I haven't talked to in years, you know, like reach out and just say, you know, like they're praying for me, you know, they're hoping everything's fine. You know, like I really can't like thank everybody enough. Like even like those of you who have reached out to me on Instagram or Facebook or, you know, like whatever it may be, and like sent me like your thoughts and prayers and like everything. I mean, I really can't thank you enough. Like I truly appreciate it, and I know the power of prayer more than anybody. But I just wanted to kind of like get on here and just share all this with you, because it is so important that, you know, like we're doing these daily exams. And you know, even though like my mom was 40 years old, her aunt, whenever she was diagnosed, was like 50 or 60. I'm 29 years old. Technically I was 28. I didn't even make it out of my 20s without developing breast cancer. So, I mean, like, it's just so important to know your body and trust your gut. If I wouldn't have been so persistent, probably never, I would still have everything in me. And like I said, the only reason I even called Dr. Ferguelli was because like I was kind of like losing patience. You know, it wasn't going away. Like, please do something with this because I want my life back, essentially. You know, I wanted to be able to work out again and do things and not worry about this lump that I have. But trust your gut. If anything seems wrong, and your doctors not necessarily blow you off, but if they don't do any kind of testing on it or anything of the sort, basically tell them to. Like, tell them you're concerned, tell them you want this done. You have legitimate reason behind it, and trust me, cancer does not care what age you are. I mean, Yins know this just from my Help Kids Beat Cancer fundraisers. I'm raising money for pediatric cancer. Like, cancer does not care how old you are. It doesn't care how healthy you are. It doesn't really matter what you do or what you can to try to prevent it. If you're going to get cancer, you're going to get cancer. You know, that's essentially it. That's basically what it comes down to. And, you know, that's just why it's like so important to get tested and do these daily exams. Know your body, trust your instincts, because it could essentially save your life. It saved mine. It saved my mom's. You know, I'm sure it has saved many other women in the past. And it's not just a women thing. Like, most people think breast cancer and they think women. Which, yeah, you know, like essentially, more often than not, women are diagnosed with breast cancer. But, guys, you can get breast cancer too. It's not just a woman thing. It's an anybody thing. So, even though you don't have boobs, still like feel around your chest area and just like make sure you don't have any kind of lumps. I'm making Andy do it. My mom has made my dad do it. You know, it can truly happen to anybody. So just kind of like keep that in the back of your mind. But I'm going to end this here because I really don't have any other information to kind of like give you guys. But I want to say I will still be able to make videos for you. A lot of it's going to depend on how I feel going through treatment. I am going to try my best. I will still be on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else it may be. So, you know, if you kind of want to keep up with everything, you want to keep up with my journey, I'd suggest just going to social media pages. I'm really hoping to be able to get some more videos in for you. I had my Vlogmas ready to go, like I had my whole lineup ready. I had videos for the rest of the year ready. A lot of that now is going to change depending on treatment and all that fun, happy stuff. So, we shall see what happens. If I don't have a YouTube video out, and like, don't be alarmed, I promise I'm okay. I just need to kind of like take time for me to make sure I'm healing properly, and you know, like my priority right now is one, you know, like keep my baby safe, but to also be able to completely fight off this horrible disease that nobody should ever have to go through. So, I'm going to end this here. Like I said, follow me on social media. If you're not already, you can follow me at my Instagram, which is just right there for you. I will have some stuff coming out for my Nikki Williams Fitness brand. I have a couple things right now in like trial mode, so if they hold up and everything's fine, I'm going to get this released for you. That's basically it. Oh, Ideal Fit just launched a goodness bar in vanilla and almond, which is really good. So I highly suggest getting that. And we also have a blood orange clear whey protein that is getting released tomorrow, Monday, October 19th. So keep an eye out for that. My code Nikki15 is good for 15% off still. Be sure to do that. Everything's in the description below. My link is there along with my promo code for you to use. And that's basically it. So I will chat with you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for everything. I love you all. Just keep me in your prayers and I will greatly appreciate that. Bye guys.